We're back with more. It's Eric Nagel.
Okay, now let's get to this. A couple weeks ago, we were reviewing the demo for this new company that came out called SonicTrek.ai. And they're trying to be on the forefront of this AI technology movement involving radio, developing radio stations, radio personalities, able to customize it locally, try to do something different than what traditional radio has been doing. And we reviewed that, and I got a message from Joel Denver on Instagram with his information, and he said to reach out to him. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, we'd like to have you come on and talk about this if you were up for it, if you were game for it. And he was willing to do so. So ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Joel Denver. Joel, hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, how are you guys?
Doing okay, sir. We're about to be really amped up on energy drinks right now. Right before you came in.
It's my second one of the day. I'm just drinking water. It's like,
Well, you know, you're trying to get with the times, get with the future. The future, unfortunately, is these things. I fell into these by accident about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then the audience went nuts and started sending me all kinds of drinks and flavor. I don't know if you can see. This is only a small portion of what is being sent into the studio.
Yeah. You got lots and lots back there.
Oh, there's many bags of these. And then there's unopened cases over there.
You set up a booth outside, and give it away to some people. That
I might just counteract other festivals, because like Ghost was doing the When We Were Young festivals, and they were all out there doing all that stuff. I'll just show up at somebody's festival with all of this stuff and give it away like a promotional thing just to get it out of here.
That's it.
Joel, for everybody out there in the radio audience knows who you are, but for the people in radio know who you are, but the actual audience may or may not know this man. A little bit of your history. You used to oversee Radio and Records Online, All Access, which was a whole hub of useful radio information, prep services, a way to connect for job placements, job seekers, countdowns, market and ratings information. Like, you were a jack of all trades when it came to
we tried
radio.
to be an information depot, basically. That's a go-to spot, and it worked. So thankfully we had 20 wonderful years on that one. So yeah,
what happened with All Access? Why did that go away?
Was in December of 22, during the traditional downtime when the industry takes a little pause, I had a phone call, and this person said to me, Lucian Grange, who is the the big guy at Universal Music Group, he is going to announce in Billboard in the first week or two of January of 2023 that he is slashing marketing and promotion budgets when they pertain to radio by 50%. Now, we had a staff of 25 people, and that just did not work. So we tried to figure out some new ways to make some money and this and that and the other. We just could not replace that much of a loss. And, and rather than just run a half-assed organization, we were a fully staffed, place with 25 really extremely diligent and passionate professionals. We decided to close it down. And as we were in that process of doing that, Mediabase, they really, we were data partners, and they said, we'd like to buy your assets. And I went, okay. So we worked out a deal, and that's what happened. And what I've been doing since then has been still promoting music and marketing music for the labels and managers and such. And I did a little thing called Radio Rendezvous for a few months there. It was kind of fun, but what I came to find out is that people would say that I'd get 300 people that would sign up, and like 75 would show up, because everybody is so short-staffed and they get sucked into so many meetings, and it's just, you just can't count on that kind of a stuff. And we couldn't hold advertisers with that kind of a traffic. So, and then at the same time too, I'd had my first explorations and conversations with the folks at the time it was called Loyal Ears Radio, or loyalears.com, the guy that was used to run the place, Jimmy Risk. And, he and I had a conversation or two, and this and that and the other, and he played what was the early stages of Phoebe, Curiously Alternative, our flagship product. And I really liked it. And he got me to join the company. And so he named me president and general manager, and I put the whole team together. And, we got that work with Futuri Media, which is our technology partners. And we really fine-tuned this thing. And And then we did put up three more projects, three more formats. And Jimmy retired to do some other things. He's still part of the company, but he's a silent part of the company at this point. And a gentleman named Mike Agavino, who I've known for years and years and years, terrific, executive C-suite specialist, I should say. He was partner at Triton Digital, and he was COO at Katz Media, and on and on and on. He just was a terrific, well-seasoned guy. And there was a gentleman from that was left over, Gary DeRosa, who was a Jimmy Risk's friend, and he stayed on in the new company. And Dennis Constantine, who was a well-respected and well-rounded broadcaster, and my friend for a long time, and he came aboard as our director of programming. And then we just added these other formats. We added the classic rock, a reimagined classic rock format that's been reimagined by Lee Abrams, who's an absolute titan in the business.
I worked with him at XM. Yeah,
absolutely. A brilliant man. And to run our country thing, which is called My Country, I was old friends with Charlie Cook, who ran Cumulus Radio's country division for 22 years. And he was retired. He lives up the road from me. We had a lunch, and about halfway through the lunch, he goes like, "Yeah, I'm in. Why wouldn't I want to do this?" And then my friend Brian Kelly, who was vice president of programming for Odyssey for 20 some odd years, he joined the company too. So that's kind of where we are at this moment. And we're out there plugging away and getting some people very interested in signing up as affiliates for this project.
How many years would you say you've been involved, either covering or any other aspect involved with radio?
I got into radio in 1968, so you can do the math. So I was 15 years old.
So like this many. Okay.
Yeah, that many.
Gotcha. Who were some of the people that that were influential to you, that you idolized, that you felt were like real staples of radio as you were coming up?
Gosh, Scott Shannon, that's one gentleman right there. I mean, I saw him in the intro and stuff, and Scott and I are still very good friends to this day. Years ago, I created a syndicated program called Future Hits, and he was one of the first stations to go, "Yeah, I'm in on that." And it was really funny because I went to his house and we talked about it. And he says, "So you want me to play an hour of stiff music, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess you want to look at it that way." But we knew we had a pretty good idea of what the big hits were going to be, and we were pretty right about that stuff. And I was running Radio and Records top 40 chart at that moment, so I had a pretty good handle on what was coming down the pike, and what was going to click and what wasn't going to click. And we didn't play any bad stuff. It was just some works and some does. There's only 10 in the top 10. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So. And so that worked. And, Scott Shannon was a terrific influence. Jay Thomas.
The late, great Jay Thomas.
He was my program director at WAYS in Charlotte, and just an incredible guy, and a gentleman who was also passed on. His name was Jay Cook. The legendary Jay Cook he taught me not only how to be, but how not to be. And I was his music director for 4.5 years at WFIL in Philadelphia. And I was like 20 years old when I started working there. And, Jay was I never saw him get mad except one time. I mean, he was always calm about stuff. It could be the worst thing in the world lands on his desk, and he always like, "Well, let's talk about this." And I just learned to keep a cool head. And, one of my friends, Charlie Lake, often said to me, he says, "Cool heads prevail." And I never forgot that. And so, I think just taking things on a gradual basis and absorbing them and seeing how you can fix it, how you can manage it, how you can overcome the obstacle is the way to go about it. And that's been very successful. And I've been blessed with, a lot of great friendships over the years, and had a remarkable staff at All Access as well too. And now I'm blessed to be running this operation too, that I think is going to really make a big difference for radio and the people that come aboard and partake of this idea. The idea behind it is we use AI to create some really fun personalities. And the music is more than the safe 200 songs that everybody just gets along with or doesn't hate. And so we're going to expand that a little bit broader, make it more interesting. And the other side of it is that these AI hosts are localized. So we use Future's technology, and they have localized breaks. So they're talking about what's going on in the markets that they are on.
Who's localizing them?
Futuria is.
No. I mean, like if you're selling to small markets all around the country and you're trying to localize them for different regions,
right?
Who's feeding into the AI on a daily basis?
That comes from a program that Futuria runs. It's called Topic Pulse. And basically what it does, it scans the world for topics and information and all kinds of data. And you fence it off for the market size that you're in, do it by zip codes and say, these are the primary zip codes that we want to make sure that they're affected by. So, we have Phoebe's up in, we have her a live stream right now, and she is based in Austin, Texas. And in Austin, Texas, she talks about what's going on in Austin. It's
on an actual broadcast radio station.
No, it is not. It's on a live stream right now. It's not. Okay. We haven't affiliated anybody yet. We just launched this like a month ago on the 15th of October, and then we just ran a webinar, which was well attended, and it is just in this last week since running that webinar, it is blown up. And so we are actively talking to quite a number of savvy broadcasters who are quite intrigued by this. And I would think after the first of the year, we'll have some solid news on affiliations when they're ready to announce that stuff themselves on the local basis.
So let me ask you this then. So if everything is looking to be hyper localized to give you what traditional radio isn't doing right now. And right. I know I saw in your webinar, you were talking about the fact that a lot of local radio isn't there anymore. It's voice tracked from people in major to medium markets that are just doing, 7 to a dozen stations.
Coming up. It's,
Yeah. So if it's costing them to pay people in these markets to voice track for all these other stations, smaller places, and then it's costing them for the AI service and everything, why wouldn't they just pay to have local people there doing the local shifts?
Well, at the end of the day, it costs more money to pay people to do local shifts. That's the problem. That's why 20 years ago or so, when voice tracking first came around, you had basically one person doing one shift, and then it became 2 shifts and 3 shifts and 4 shifts and 5 shifts. I mean, I knew somebody that used to voice 10 stations a day, and there's just no opportunity to do any show prep. There's no opportunity to do anything to localize all of those things. And so what happened was gradually the personality came away from it. And, and sadly, radio has got some real economic and financial problems. So our theory is, present a better quality of music, something that is not so, burned out, but you'll play the hits, of course. We've reimagined what all of these stations sound like, for example, Starship, which is Lee Abrams' creation. It sounds like a 70s AOR station. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Album-oriented rock, for those who
Exactly.
don't know.
Exactly. And, so there's that. And Phoebe is a female-leaning alternative station. So, you're definitely hearing songs that are of a widespread, appeal to women 30 plus. And, for our cool classics station, that's definitely stuff from the 90s, late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And Randy West, who is a terrific host. She was a program director for many years, and she's done a lot of voice tracking, and so she's a well-known entity in the business. She is our host. And over at Country, we hired Suzanne Alexander, and Suzanne Alexander is a big star on RFD TV. She has a weekly audience of about 20 million people. So, and we've tried to put people in place that, know what they're talking about. And, even though we take their voice and we, run it through a large language module, we still, they have the feel for what they're doing. In other words, it's not just like grabbing somebody off the street. These people have a cadence to their voice. They have emphasis. They have personality to their voice. And we've really been able to, like, with the help of Futuria, to take that voice, and then really quickly get it to the point where it sounds like them. That used to be a months-long project when I first started on this thing. It would take, weeks to get the timing right and this and right. And we've just helped develop some of these tools that really speeds it up very quickly now. And like Randy West says, I've always listened to my recorded voice for years and years and years, but it's just so weird for me to hear my recorded voice. And I never said those words. Right. So, it's been a lot of fun. And, the staff is incredibly energetic about it. We believe that, we can take a station, our ideal station, and every market has a number of these. Take a station that does not have, terrific ratings, is just doing a very.
This is all small market stuff, though, right?
Well, no, we have a couple of larger markets that are interested. We expect this to, primarily grow from the smaller markets and move up. And we're already engaged in conversation with some people in some fairly large markets. So what it is, every market has a couple of, stations that have a good signal. They don't have a format that appeals to the marketplace. They're running some all syndicated stuff, which has no value to, a local listener beyond whatever information they give of a national basis. Mm-hmm. And, and many times those stations are what they call rate getters. In other words, like they have a big station in town, the big top 40 in town, and they'll use this rate getter. So they want to get $50 a spot. And the guy that's spending the money goes, it's not worth $50 a spot. Well, we'll throw all these extra spots on this schlock station, on this other station down here. And then they say it's value because it's got more impressions and stuff like that. So it's what we call a rate getter. And, and it has to have a decent signal because you can't get ratings where you can't be heard. And at the other side of it is too, you turn this over to us. If you want to keep your morning show, you'll have a beloved morning show, keep the morning show. We'll do the rest of the day parts. Ideally we'd be able to run the entire radio station.
Is it just one voice per station? Like
right
that
now,
PBFM?
that is exactly what it is.
They had a morning show that the local morning show, whatever they have, their morning show stays. She comes on after the morning show. She's there the entire day.
Yep. She's there the entire day, 24/7 if we don't have a morning show to deal with. And that's already been proven out with Jack FM. That is a proven, entity that one voice works.
Does something like that cause problems if you get into markets that have unions?
No, we're prepared to do all of that stuff too.
Like
there are already guidelines. There are already guidelines for working with AI, and we fulfill those guidelines.
Do you see that when you put this into place, do the ratings actually increase? Because for me, the problem with radio nowadays is not the personalities. Morning shows are fine. It's music. Music is not going to sell anything. Music is not going to change anything. I can care less about top 40, what's new, what's not. Because guess what? My phone does everything. I search what I want. Sure. I find what I want. I curate what I want. I don't need the radio for it. I haven't turned on my car radio station probably in years. And I think that's the biggest issue.
There's still a lot of people that do listen to radio and listen quite often. And what we're trying to do is elevate it. We're going to elevate the music. We're going to also elevate the opportunity to communicate directly with them about things that they care about in the place they live. We'll talk about what's happening, concerts that are coming. We'll talk about, the fair is coming to town. Get your tickets here. I mean, there's all kinds of things and ways we can interact with a local audience, and it's all done through AI. It's a turnkey, set it and forget it operation.
Let me ask you something involving the AI jocks then. Is it one voice per station is how you're packaging this?
That's exactly what we're doing at present. Yes.
All right. So then what essentially is your roster then for voice talent with the company?
The roster right now, like I said, we have Randy West, who is doing the cool classics, and we're doing Suzanne Alexander for the My Country, and Phoebe is doing Phoebe FM, or Phoebe Curious, the alternative. We have a gentleman named Zax who is voicing our classic rock, entity. So, but
to do the AI, from what I've read and what I've understood, is that you've got to feed a certain amount of audio into the program for it to learn the cadence, to learn the signatures, all of those things in there like that. Once that is done, then there's no need for having a roster of on-air talent, right?
Well, this is how we're doing it at present. We'll explore the need. This is all a WIP, a work in progress. We know that through research that when a station is localized, it definitely attracts more listeners and, steady listeners and people that come back again because they feel something. They feel a oneness. They feel a companionship with that radio station. We know that. That's hard evidence research. And when we can offer a playlist that's not as boring and is not as predictable and has some really interesting, oh, wow stuff into the middle of it that's localized, because every market, every region of the company leans in a certain direction. They have local stars, they have regional stars, and we are researching who those people are, and we're going to make sure those people are part of the ongoing thing. If we're going to be in, let's say, Lubbock, Texas, it's going to sound like Lubbock, Texas. If we're in Austin, it's going to sound like Austin, Texas. And we just feel that that doing this and being able to elevate radio and take a facility that's not earning money and make it earn money is a positive for the financials that radio is going through. I mean, every quarter we see these companies turning in these quarterly reports that are pretty sad. Right. And I've been in this business since I was 15 years old, and I have a deep, deep passion for it. I really believe in the process of it. And yes, but you can look at streaming. Radio still reaches more people than streaming does. And, in America here. And you can look at all of those things. And right now there's a little bit of streaming fatigue that's going on out there. We've seen that in some of the research that we have access to.
In what aspects?
No, just, there's a fall off in audience that's taking place. There's other things that are attracting their attention, and we believe that we also know that people that stream, Spotify and Pandora and et cetera, they also, still tune into radio. And if we can offer a better product that takes their, interests into account on a local basis, they'll spend more time with us. If we can offer a better variety of music, nothing that's, playing, not talking about playing stiffs, we're talking about playing really good, hit music, but broadening it out a little bit. It's just like it's the same predictable songs over and over and over again. And that's why, so that's why radio has not been competing with Spotify's of the world out there, because it's just the same predictable music over and over again. And we realize too that part of that is because they're trying to program not to people, but to an audience, calibration system, an audience measurement system.
It is definitely over-researched, the music that they put in. Yeah, I'll agree with that 100%. Mm-hmm. So yeah, expanding at least for traditional radio, expanding the playlist, getting pretty loose with it. It's like, just because the label's telling you, I know how this works. I know forever that, the labels put pressures on stations. If you don't play, it's like the world of publicists. If you don't take this lower guest that we have here, you won't get the bigger guest down the line. Same thing with the music stuff. But for at least for music, they lost that sound, those oh wow moments where all of a sudden out of nowhere they throw in a song that was big maybe a decade ago that's not getting played anymore, but the artist is still current and relevant, and slipping those in once in a while. Look, I know how the clocks work. Sometimes those things do show up to round out the hour, about 57, 58. If you hear a weird song, it's just because it timed it out to the hard hour. That's why that thing's getting played. But yeah, it needs to do that. I still having a hard time. Again, I grew up in radio just like you, like a lot of us did. I lied and said I was in college in order to get an internship before computers were a thing. I didn't check the paperwork, and I just said I was there and pretended that I was supposed to be there.
That's it.
Like a lot of good radio people. I've been around this business. I love this business. I know so much about what's going on and the problems that it's having now. And I know due to corporate, due to financing, due to all these other things.
Sure.
I don't understand how the music is. And I understand what you're trying to do. And it is a step in the right direction as far as expanding the playlist and adding things in. I still don't see how the music is going to help radio. It used to be with radio, there were certain formats that if a station in your market didn't work, well, we're going to flip it to classic rock. We're going to flip it to, depending if you're an East Coast, West Coast station, we're going to flip it to some kind of Spanish or Russian or some kind of, ethnic programming in there. sports talk. Certain formats were guaranteed to work as the backups. Those backups don't even work anymore now. So I don't know how music is going to compete against digital platforms with Spotify, with Apple, those kind of things, because radio in the last 15 years, once people started to realize listening to the radio is, oh, this is me listening to somebody else's playlist that I can't skip out of. I could go over here and make my own, like your sister, your best friend, people you love and cherish in your life. You value their opinions. If they sent you your playlist, you're looking at it and still going, ugh, do I still want to listen to somebody else's playlist? Do I want to take the dive and to do that? That's where the mentality, at least for the radio listener, changed when these other options came. So if you could get anything you want and program it any way you want, YouTube, any of those things, then you have radio, who's been, like you said, very strict, very suffocating with their playlists and their programming. Even if they loosen that up, how is the music going to compete with that?
Well, it's, you understand that, people still come to radio, even with the obnoxiously tight, playlists that are repetitive and offering nothing to really be creative on the music. They're still coming there and listening to radio. Z100 in New York is still one of the biggest radio stations in New York. WKSC in Chicago, one of the biggest, stations in Chicago. Kiss FM in LA, one of the biggest stations in Los Angeles. And so what they don't have, before in an overall global view, you're right. Music is not the first thing that they come to for. But if you do improve the music and they're coming to your radio station and they like a little bit more of what they're hearing, that will keep them around. And the icing on the cake is what our AI hosts say. They're going to be funny. They're going to be witty. They're going to talk about what's going on. Listen, pardon me. There's nothing worse than, listening to a voice-tracked radio station where the guy goes, it's sunny in 85. Meanwhile, 5 tornadoes touched down.
Right.
And he's not talking about what's going on. We'll talk about, how to get in touch with FEMA, how to reach emergency services. This is the stuff we'll talk about. We're going to be basically live and local with the technology that powers the voice.
I've also been a very big proponent of, and I still feel this way, maybe AI does fit into this if done the right way. I'm still skeptical on it. Personality is going to win the war for any platform. If the personality is there, whether they're playing music, whether they're doing a talk show, a sports, anything, personality is the draw to a station rather than the music that they're playing.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. But if you make the music better, it's just one more, step forward to say.
You're saying icing on the cake kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. If have you listened to all of our demos yet?
We did.
Yeah,
I have some comments, but I did listen to those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did listen to them. All right. If you want to go into that, because I had some other questions involving.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do.
But the Phoebe demo, right? It fits. It sounds a little bit like Lithium. The imaging they do for Lithium on Sirius XM, which is this nasally, quirky Janine Garofalo sounding kind of 90s alternative woman. Daria, if you remember that show from the 90s, was big for that generation, that kind of cadence, that kind of mindset for it.
Right.
The thing I was curious about is that some of the personality, again, I know you're in the infant stages with all of this, but a lot of it came off as kind of corny, kind of dad jokey, and then there's a couple of breaks where the AI was saying, well, how would I know I'm not real or I'm not AI? Is that
we want to talk about that. We want full transparency on that.
Okay, because the other demos, your country music one we listened to, and I forgot what the third one was, Jordan. Maybe it was that Star
I think it was the classic rock. Oh yeah, either the Star. What was the Star radio station called?
Starship.
I think it was Starship. Yeah.
Those, on the other hand, were going the opposite direction, where they were not alluding at all that they were not real people, that they were AI.
Well, they all make mention. They all make mention that they're
okay. Because I was going to also parlay that into down the line, what does that do for the FCC? If you're on a broadcast station and they're not real people, is that going to be some kind of hindrance with them, where you have artificial programming on there pretending to be live, but they're not real people?
Well, I think the crux would be: are you being transparent that you are AI?
Right.
Listen, they require that now on Twitter or X or any of these social platforms. If you're putting something up and it's not real, and it's been AI created, you're obligated to label it as such. So we're just doing what we're supposed to do with that. So the FCC, they don't get into content. They're not supposed to get into content besides the 730 words.
But they have been. I mean, look what they did with Jimmy Kimmel. They're definitely stepping in.
I'm not sure that they're going to go down that path again. I mean, do
you imagine that was a very stupid move. FM.
That was a very stupid move.
Well, all right. So with the AI stuff, then let's talk about a real case where this was actually in play a few years ago, and we covered this. AI Ashley. I'm sure you're familiar.
Right. Yeah, she was in Sacramento. Right.
No, Portland. She was in
Portland. Right. You're right. Portland.
So for the audience, a recap there, if you're not familiar with radio stuff, there was a station in Portland that did a big lead up or promotion, took a chance with the AI programming for their midday slot on their I guess they were like a CHR or a top 40 station.
Top 40 station, right.
And it was called AI Ashley, and it was all generated. You could feed into what you need. It was answering phone calls, it was doing contesting, it was doing all this stuff. The woman who voice tracked, or not voice tracked, who lent her voice to the AI thing, I think was up in Michigan where she was working. So she was doing her real job, everything on her station live, while in this other part of the country, her voice is the computer doing all of these things on that station there. Eventually, she got replaced with a live jock. I don't know if it was a failed experiment or what the real reasoning was, but I remember seeing the job being posted, and I was like, oh, well, that didn't last as long as I thought.
Right.
So is that something, I mean, that paved the way. That was the first instance that I know of where somebody took a chance of that. Right. Does that help or hurt you with having that example already out there and you going forward?
No, I don't. AI Ashley was a nice stab at it. Phil Becker, who was the program manager and the brand manager of that, is a friend of mine, and we have since discussed it. And he says the technology that we are using for our voices is far superior to what they were using for AI Ashley. So, it's things evolve as they evolve, and
I think. I don't know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but that station was bought up by Connoisseur. It was an Alpha.
Right, exactly. It was Alpha Media and then became Connoisseur, right.
Was he let go because of that?
Oh, no. It's like, I just think they wanted to bring their own folks in. I mean, Phil Becker is a really, really smart man and a brilliant guy and a very, very terrific executive. So, I don't think they pinned that on him by any stretch at all. I think they just wanted to have their own people involved, and that's what they did. They basically staffed it with some of their own executives to oversee programming and such.
So it wasn't a matter of that of ratings or no appeal from the audience for it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's just company changing hands. They just wanted their own people. That happens when a new company takes over. They want their people in, and then the old management gets
sweeped out.
The old heave ho. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So you have many friends in the business, Scott Shannon, things like that. How do they react to this type of venture that you guys are doing, where essentially you're replacing actual people with the AI generated?
Well, it's interesting. If you really like I said, I think we started. I mentioned this at the top of the program. We didn't start that fire.
Sure.
The people started being replaced by voice tracks. It was
always burning since the world's been turning, Joel.
Yeah, that's exactly. Thank you very much. But, so we didn't start that. And, we've outlined what we think is a good use case scenario for us, a station that is already not doing very well, has a decent signal so we can get some ratings and put us in place. And, and you have people that you think are good. You have other stations in your cluster, keep them, reassign them. So it's like, but we're trying to make a facility a profitable facility versus just a rate getter. So they're burning electricity, they're not putting any value into the company at all. It's got a 1 share or a 0.8 share. If we can elevate it to the 3s or the 4s, holy crap, that's going to make a big difference financially. And you do that in enough places, that's going to make a difference for radio. So, yes, are we trying to bring new technology? Yes, we're trying to bring some efficiency, a new technology that really brings back, localized radio to the market that we're broadcasting to, bringing content people will listen for and listen to. And on the top of that, a slightly better music format. That's, again, we're not going to be able to sit there and compete with, with Pandora and Spotify, where they thumb things up and thumb things down and they can skip it and all that stuff like that. We know that, but it's better than playing worse music, right? So you play better music and you put somebody in place that's got something fun to say. And, and Phoebe is snarky. That's just how she is. She's a snarky girl. It's great. Zax is very laid back, because back in the 70s, when that station was reimagined into, that was the style of radio back then. It was very laid back and the music was the star. And I am Zax, and we're here today. And that's another set from Pink Floyd. And coming up, it's, so-and-so and so, it's a different vibe. Country music, Suzanne is filled with facts. She knows these players themselves. She interviews them all the time. She's friends with these artists, so she has stories that she can relate that nobody else has. And and Randy, she's a pop music junkie. She knows all of those songs. She's interviewed these people.
She's out of Florida, right?
Yeah, she's out of Florida, right? Tampa, Florida.
I think I ran into her once. I was working with Clear Channel back in the day in Orlando and West Palm for their now defunct Real Radio Talk networks that they were doing down there.
There you go.
And I think I ran into Randy at one point. I think in West Palm. I think she's down in that area or something like that. She was huge for talk radio.
Absolutely. She's terrific.
And I don't know if she's still on air or if she's doing her own thing now. I don't know if she's with a company.
Well, yeah, she's still voice tracking some stations, and we'll hopefully have her voicing, our syndicated programming, our 24/7 syndicated programming in a number of stations soon. So
I have a few. I don't know how much time we have left here with you, Joel. Do we have time for a couple more questions, or do you got to run?
For me, you do. Yeah. Okay. I'm just here.
While doing that, this is a personal question. While setting this up and looking at this as the next venture for your career and what you're doing, when doing All Access, you were a hub for people who were looking for jobs, because you were always like, I would get your daily updates and stuff, and you would see like, this person got promoted. Happy birthday to this person. This person, unfortunately, is looking for their next opportunity. They're on the beach. All of that stuff there. Right. And it was a great social community within the industry for people who were looking for people. Will find stuff on there because you would let them post their demos, their phone numbers, all of that stuff, so people could get in touch. Being that involved with helping radio people for so long, to then going into this technology that's potentially eliminating the possibility of actual people doing radio jobs. How does that sit with you?
Well, if you have to look at it this way, if you see the headlines every quarter, this company is down, this company is like running into covenant problems. If we don't start fixing radio, in 2 or 3 years, people are going to start handing in FM licenses. Right. I mean, we're trying to preserve the industry. This is one way that I believe we can help. Let's say if we fix one radio station in each cluster, across the top 50 or the top 100 markets, we're going to make a very strong contribution to the health of our industry. And that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring some modernization. I'm trying to elevate the product. I'm trying to, bring back some fun to the stations again. Bring back, content that has value and a better music mix. It's not the same 200 songs that everybody doesn't hate, because that's what it's been researched down to.
I get that. And I do understand that you're trying to bring back something to the industry that we've all loved for all our lives and been very passionate about. But isn't the potential of helping the industry at the cost of the people in the industry? Like if the industry does say this does succeed, right? And it does help and it grows and it helps stabilize the industry more.
Right.
Yes, there's potential for them to do other things with revenue going up and people being interested in again. But it also could be the slippery slope of Skynet, taking over, where this happens. It's all now the future of radio. It does not involve actual people anymore.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I really believe that live personalities are terrific. And I see, and you look at stations like WMMR
in Philly,
in Philly. Look at that morning show, Preston and Steve. They're fabulous. Look at Z100 and Elvis Duran. I mean, those are. Look at Brother Fred in Philadelphia at Kiss in Chicago. That's a guy that bootstrapped himself up and worked his ass off, and he is a dominant giant in that market. And look at Mojo in Detroit. There's examples all over the country. Those are not the stations that are going to be candidates for what we're doing here. Why would you disrupt that? Look at Chet Buchanan in Las Vegas, and he's a giant in his industry. Look at Ellen Kay at Coast in L.A. She's like the number one morning show in L.A. many times. Number one in Los Angeles. She's beaten Ryan Seacrest some days.
Now, a lot of these shows you're talking about and these legendary talents have been doing this for a long time.
That's right.
So the future of it is like there's really no minor league to replace these people, these shows when they're done.
There is. People get started all the time. It's just less opportunity. I mean, and again, that has nothing to do with what we're trying to do. There's just less opportunity out there because they're voice tracking it already. They're already they're paying somebody $6,000 a year to voice track a radio station, and they're turning in 6 shows a week. And that guy is also, turning in voice tracks for 5 or 6 other stations. I'm getting over this.
Don't forget there are 2 blog posts a day that they're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. On top of that. Right. And so it's really, there's only 10 in the top 10, and that goes for the record business, and it goes for radio station rankings in Nielsen. And, there's so many different parts to this mix as to what makes a successful radio station. And we're trying to elevate 2 important parts, the personalities and the content and, music that's much more listenable than the same stuff over and over and over again.
So we're at this point where you've got your 4 talents and you've got them doing the live streaming and stuff like that. What's to say this technology advances to the point where now you've got 2 of these talents interacting with each other, and now you've got this model where you can replace the morning show with your scripted AI and generative AI and things like that. Essentially what this is going to start doing is shrinking that market. And like what Eric said, less and less people are going to want to get into this industry, because why would you want to? Why would you want to do that?
Less and less people want to get into it now because they don't pay people very well.
Right.
I mean, you can make more money in a McDonald's. There's some small market radio stations that don't pay as well as McDonald's do.
I don't even get paid for this show.
Oh, but you do it because you love it.
I do.
That's not true. He is worth his weight in Legos, my friend.
There you go.
No, but I know this isn't directly what you're doing. I'm saying you can see how this could lead to this, could lead to this. Those major institutions of shows and stations that we have just discussed. When those shows gone, and like you said, there's just less and less opportunities for other people. I understand that. But that will build to where there's less opportunities for less people to cut their teeth, to less people to develop into the next legendary jock or the next legendary morning show or political host, talk host, whatever. As far as radio goes, there's other platforms. But as far as radio goes, when Elvis goes away, when Ryan Seacrest retires, when Mojo goes away, Bobby Bones is done, Preston and Steve decide to retire, or any of those things happen there, then they look over there and it's like, you can't pull from media markets anymore because they don't have the personalities, because they didn't have the money. They didn't to run the stations to do all of this stuff. Eventually, at some point, it's going to hit critical mass where, all right, the station's radio just plays radio music and maybe news updates and stuff, but you're not going to have the personalities in the long run. It's really hard to predict that would happen. If you look in
any of these major markets, or even some of the smaller markets, there's 35, 40 signals in these markets. There's a lot of radio there, and we plan to put up more formats, and to offer more opportunities for more radio stations to elevate some of these less than stellar rated radio stations that exist out there. But I don't see us taking over an entire market. You know what I mean?
But we didn't see AI getting to the level we did as quickly as it did. And now we're at this point where a lot of companies are trying to catch up to where the technology is at. Mm-hmm. And you've got other things trying to, be a part of this. And then you've got, companies like yours that are taking advantage of how quickly it is. And you're doing all this stuff.
Right.
You're going to, what we're talking about now, a year from now, is going to be old news. That's going to be, you're never going to know. Because we see AI videos that almost look completely real. Like you don't know the difference.
No,
and it's
totally
screwing up having to do this. So
iHeart just announced that for their app, they're adding an AI portion in there for their personality programming for their videos and everything, where the AI will pick, choose, cut, highlight everything that it goes through, whatever, however it's algorithm.
And they're involved with TikTok too. It's like now they're involved with TikTok. So that's a very forward-thinking
TikTok thing. It's doing something that's the Sirius version of TikTok radio did not do.
Yeah, exactly.
The Sirius XM was an interesting experiment, but it was terrible because you don't bring TikTokers on to seg into songs because they sounded terrible. Mm-hmm. I understand TikTok has grown to be a big platform for discovering music, just like YouTube has.
Right.
I get it. If you're going to play music that's big on TikTok, that's not on radio on this specific channel, absolutely makes 100% makes sense. The people they brought on was terrible. At least iHeart now is going to include all this stuff, but they're taking personalities from TikTok and now they're building also a podcast network and infusing these people into their like they've taken it past. You're going to voice track into, you're going to show up at Jingle Ball and Alter Ego and all these other things.
Yeah, they'll take influencers and do that, At
least that's personalities they're bringing in. Real people.
We've had potential affiliates that we're having conversations with. Well, what if I want to bring Phoebe, into the market for sure, you can do that. I mean, she's a live person, but she's doing an AI representation of herself on the air.
Right.
Yeah, bring her in. Make her a star. Absolutely. We're all about that. And,
this is essentially like Tony Clifton. Whoever is really the voice for Phoebe now has to wear a costume when she goes out. Or if you want to throw back Mr. Leonard from the old
right, exactly. Right. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Now
That's
with all this
but
stuff.
I mean, there's so many different ways that this could go. I think it's going to go in a very positive direction based on just the feedback we've had. And, we've had people sit there and go like, oh, well, this is going to put people out of work. I guess go back to what I said before. We didn't start that fire.
No,
people have been culled down and culled down and culled down.
Do you think I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah.
No, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, it's like, we're just trying to improve radio. We're trying to make sure it lasts. We're trying to make sure it is viable still.
Do you think we got to this point because of there's people in this industry, all companies, that are just kind of writing it out until they retire or writing it out until their last contract, whatever. And once they're out the door, the house of cards falls. They're just spinning plates and keeping it going till they leave.
I can't speak to, I never count on other people's monies, and I never can anticipate or would prognosticate why people do what they do.
Sure, you can do it right now.
Where's your magic 8-ball?
Go ahead.
I'm saying
no one's watching this.
Is like, who knows how this is going to go? The future. If we could all see the future, we'd be all like retired already. We'd be, we'd have more money than we'd need, and because we saw the future and we predicted and we got into whatever it's like, it's just not feasible to do. So we're at the nascent part of our growth here. But we've got a lot of people talking about us. We've got a lot of people that we're engaging conversations with, and they're asking some absolutely great questions. And, every time we have a conversation, we learn something more about what they need. And we say, yes, we can do that. No, we can do that. We can't do that yet, but we will be able to in the near future. I mean, people are really coming at us with some absolutely terrific stuff.
When you say that you're getting positive feedback, and I don't doubt that that's what it is. Where are you getting the feedback from? Like, if you've got like the higher ups running some of these companies just to make their money, and they're finding, oh yeah, we've got great feedback for you because we can get rid of 5 people and replace them with the Phoebes and whoever else.
Right.
Where is that coming from? Because they're the ones that kind of put everybody into this position to begin with.
Well, it's coming from the fact is that they have signals that are not, hauling their own weight. They're rate getter stations. They're burning a lot of electricity. They're basically, flatlining the profit or dragging it down just to make rate on the bigger station. And we're just giving them an opportunity to put some creative programming on these non-entities that are, that are in the market, that reach the market, and make something of them. I mean, we're trying to improve the product. And, this is a product-based improvement, what we're trying to do. We're trying to improve the business in general. And this is one way we believe that we can help do this and elevate radio. And I really believe also, too, I'm a big believer in all boats rise. When radio looks better and feels better, people will spend more money on it in general, because if we attract enough attention to it, and all of a sudden we take a station that's got a 0.8 here and have a 3.5, that's gonna wake up a lot of people up, and all of a sudden, oh well, wow, radio is coming back here. We have so many listeners still coming to radio, but all they do is talk about the digital side. Oh, it's Pandora and it's Spotify and this and that and the other. And it's because it's the shiny new toy. And this comes from the media buyers. And the media buyers go, oh, well, that's where we want to spend our money because it's cheaper than, radio is. We can go buy that thing for, next to nothing and get all this coverage. And
is it because they have hard numbers coming from the digital side? Is it because they get hard numbers from the digital side? Where
we get hard numbers from Nielsen too. If you believe in the technology and if you believe in the methodology, it just comes down to this, is that, we, have an idea. We have it. And you asked who was speaking positively about it. I got some programmers out there that, some consultants that we are friends with. And I've been friends with these people long enough to know that if they really didn't like something, they'd say, Joel, that sucks. But they're not saying that, and
Phoebe threatened them.
Huh?
Phoebe threatened them.
Yeah. No, so it's like, so they're, it's not, we're getting some very positive and some owners that we're having conversations with, it is where is this going to really generate from? They know that they have a dog signal. There's nothing they can do with it right now. They've got syndicated programming on it, which means nothing. It just keeps the lights on, and they run barter, and then they run, spots as a rate getter station, whereas they see the opportunity now, for an economical way of doing things. They can take this station that they can't afford to hire jocks on. They can't afford to do that, but they can put this programming on and elevate the content, and it's local, and it's something that's not being done in the marketplace. And say they look at this and go like, this is a good step forward. And we do this enough times and all boats rise. And there's more attention brought back to radio, and there's more emphasis, and people are, wow, radio is not fucked up anymore, or is not as fucked up as it was.
What is the compensation structure then for your roster per station? Are people paid like one time to get the voice generated?
Well, it's like I don't talk about people's salaries and how I constructed.
Well, no,
that's
right. Not specifically, but I'm saying like if this is supposed to go out almost like a syndication kind of thing. Is it then branched out like that it's included where, well, we got all these different stations are taking this particular station that you're putting out there. Is that now all come back into the house, or does that have to be split between music royalties and the compensation for the voice talent and what have you?
Well, it's like it's you have fixed expenditure, like any business, you have fixed expenditures. The music licensing, that's on the radio stations. That's not us.
Okay, so so they got to deal with all that stuff there.
But it's like it's like anything else. You have hard costs and you have soft costs. Where you have movement to say, well, we're not going to spend for that right now, but we'll do that later. But it's like we license a music rotation system. We have costs for sure, just like anybody else. But so far, everything we've been able to put together so far is very much in line, and it's makes sense for the stations that we're talking to so far. And I'm pretty excited about where this is going to. And Mike Agavino is just doing a terrific job at that. And Dennis Constantine, he's just amazing at what he does as putting these things together. And all the other guys in the programming team, Charlie Cook and Brian Kelly, they're really pros at what they're doing. I'm really basically surrounded with some excellent people.
I was going to say this is a weird one, but the question is weird. Where does Phoebe live? Like, AI has to be housed somewhere. What is your, I'm not going to ask for your cost, but like, where does this generate from? Where does this come from? You can't just like, here's your thumb drive. Like,
no, Future Media.
Okay.
So,
that is our AI partner.
So it's customized. So it's not like syndicated where this is the Phoebe stream going out to this station, this station, this station. This is the license going to this station for Phoebe, but Phoebe is customized based on wherever station that is. But it's all coming. It's not done in-house at those stations. It's all feeding from Futuri from their database.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. We program the music. We program the music. We define the stop sets, what kind of stop set it's going to be. Phoebe knows, through instructions what she's to talk about.
So they have the technology. You're the delivery service.
Yeah, they have the technology, and we are the programmers. Yeah, we have the programming expertise.
So what happens if these radio stations say we get another DDoS attack for AWS or the Cloudflare that happened the other day that knocked out a lot of the AI systems and ChatGPT and things like that? Like what kind of contingencies do they have? Like these stations, like they can't just say, okay, someone's called in sick, let's get dipshit over here to get on the radio.
No,
for the next
it's like because we feed an entire log ahead of time, and we can shove a bunch of programming in advance down. So as long as they're not off the air at the local end there, it'll still broadcast.
So it's downloaded ahead of time.
Oh yeah.
It's not like pulling a live feed.
No, it's all there. Their system interacts with they'll have a local box from us, and our local box talks to their traffic system.
Their local box also descrambles the Playboy channel and HBO and all that.
If you do it right. Yeah.
No more looking at the naked blue women in the squiggly lines anymore.
No.
A couple of things with the future of what you're doing here. One, right now, as you're presenting it, it's a music environment with some kind of AI generated presence, speaking personality along with this. Are there plans down the line to eventually develop it into a full blown personality show? Like a morning show,
we're going to listen. We're going to listen to the marketplace. We have our own ideas on what we want to do, but the marketplace will help us make these decisions on what they want.
Eric, don't praise the machine.
I'm not praising the machine. I'm just curious about that. What was the other thing? Now it was that, and I'm forgetting now.
Well, someone in the chat actually had a good question. It was kind of like a follow up to you're saying that the talent is downloaded by the local station, so you're kind of you've got that backup of a backup, but like you said, it also kind of does more localized stuff, which I understand if you're talking about like, oh, this is a future concert that's coming, or this is the thing that's happening in your town. What about weather? What about news updates? What about things like that?
We can do traffic breaks. We can build in a traffic break as long as it's on time. It's just like it's like putting a commercial insertion.
Right. No, I know that if it's working how it's supposed to work, but that system goes down, like you said, you've got it downloaded. So yes, you can still keep that going, but then you lose that up to date, up to the minute functionality until that system comes back online.
Yeah, it's like anything else. It's better than having dead air, right?
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and generally, and it was interesting. I had a conversation with somebody who asked me that, and they said, "What happens if it's down for days?" I said, "If it's down for days, we have much bigger problems than this. That means there's something seriously wrong somewhere."
Independence Day.
We've had some serious AWS outlets, outages and Twitter outages, and Cloudflare outages and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, sadly, shit's going to happen.
Has anything? All right, because the way this is, it's like two things working together. Because Futuri has the technology that you're using to develop everything else here. I understand your goal is to help the industry and try to improve what happens.
Right.
Has there been any thought to the possibility of presenting this and developing in a way to attract a bigger buyer from this, like the craft beer brewing industry, where they were making all their craft beers, and eventually the bigger beer companies and alcohol conglomerates would come around and then start cherry picking the ones that were working, and then just taking the label and the brand, putting it under their umbrella, and then the company walks off with whatever thousands, millions of dollars for selling off their property. Is this something that comes to mind too? Like, say, like iHeart or SiriusXM or somebody comes around and says, "Hey, we like what you're doing. We want to buy that exclusively." Because it's no different than, it could be no different than some of the podcast networks. iHeart and Sirius have been going around and just, doing land grabs on podcast networks to bring it under their umbrella. Is there any concern for that?
It's not a concern. That would be an amazing, amazing thing if this got to be that useful and that big. But at the end of the day, I'm not sitting here doing this for that, because that would be, you just can't think that that's going to happen. You have to, that's going to come about naturally if it's successful. But it's like, it's not our first concern. Our first concern is just doing this right. That's exactly what our first concern is.
One other thing, I know I'm jumping around here, but
that's all right. It's good, man.
It came to mind. You said something earlier about stream fatigue. And I was thinking about this. So you were saying stream fatigue and people were, coming back to radio and listening to radio. I need to ask you, in what capacity are they listening to radio? Because, and there's been a lot of reports. I saw some on NBC a while ago that they're saying this younger generation is the lowest generation in recorded history for getting their driver's license. Like, they have no interest in driving. They either have their parents or Uber or there's or mass transit or whatever. It's down a lot. It's not like it's down like a couple percent. It's down a lot of younger people not interested in getting their license driving. So that's less potential of them being in the car and accidentally finding radio. So if streaming fatigue is a thing, how are they coming across radio if they're not in the car?
Well, at the end of the day, they are in the car with their parents. It's not like they're not getting chauffeured somewhere. They're not going somewhere in a car. It's, just because they're not driving doesn't mean that they're not being exposed to the radio environment in a car. And it's like, there's a lot of reasons why they don't want a car. It's expensive. It's really expensive. And you have some of these young
They're
adults.
Also lazy.
I don't know that, but it's
they just don't want to go out and get their license.
Well, the point is it's expensive to go out on your own, and some of these kids, they don't want to share roommates and all that stuff like that. They want their own digs if they're going to be out there. They can't afford it. Their parents have already spent a fortune putting them through college, and they can stay at home and go do their jobs and come back. And some people ride bikes, and it's our son rides a bike to work many days.
So they're getting in touch with the radio through streaming, though, right?
Through streaming, or again, they are getting into cars. They are listening to what's on. Hey, Dad, let's put this on. Let's put that on.
My kid would never say, "Hey, Dad, let's put this on." You know what she says? "I'm going to put these on," and she throws her headphones in her ears. So,
I see.
I see your point, but I also live with a teenager who the last thing she wants to do is listen to anything I want to do. My 9-year-old's rolling his eyes when I'm yelling MXPX songs at the top of my lungs, embarrassed that he's even in the car with me. So the idea that, yes, they're getting a ride and that they're going to listen to whatever top 40 or whatever you want to play,
right?
Sadly, I don't see it. So it's hard for me to understand that that's really what the reality is going to be.
The average age of a radio listener has moved up, guys. It's an older platform. Let's face that.
Sure.
Yeah, gone are the
Like-
days where I would argue it with being in my dad's car where, he's listening to like
Push the
Dante
preset.
Reed's Doo-Wop Shop on CBS FM.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to hit the thing to go over to Z100 or to Howard or something,
Right.
hitting the old the presets that would squelch the radio as the thing moved around, and then him essentially breaking my hands because I got the dial in the car there.
Yeah, but that's a day gone by, guys. That's a day gone by. So look, I have no idea what the future is. I'm living this future one day at a time. And like I say, we got a lot of press on this when we debuted the company on 10/15 and 11/12. We put this webinar out. Had a ton of people on the webinar watching it. We sent out the emails to people that basically said, here's the if you missed it, here's the link, all that stuff like that. And we're just taking this thing day by day. But I really am excited and very optimistic about the feedback we're getting from decision makers, and like I say, there's a number of consultants that go like, wow, this is good stuff. How can we work together? And it's fun. It's really fun. And a lot of these people I've known for years. So it'd be a real pleasure to find a way to work together with these folks, so.
Last question.
Sure.
And I know because of the pandemic, 2020 was a ridiculous year for anyone to try to figure out how to operate. But you were doing that all access worldwide radio summit,
right? With our partner Sat Bisla, right? Mm-hmm.
Right, and that got canceled obviously because 2020 was supposed to be rescheduled and then didn't. What happened with that?
Well, basically, we did do one more after that, and so that was rescheduled, but it was a couple of years late. Wasn't that next year? We did one more, and Sat and I decided we did not want to partner on this anymore, and it was very difficult, by the way. So we went to a digital version of this, and that was very successful. And the reason we didn't want to do another physical version of it is because too risky. We got a lot of our money back, from people we'd put deposits down for hotels and this and that and the other. But in this day and age, they don't honor an act of God or anything like that anymore in their contract. You pay your money, we keeps your money. Yeah. Regardless of what happens. So it's very risky to do these kinds of events now. So that's why we went to a digital platform, and it worked very, very well. We had great partners with that. Our friend Carolyn Gilbert and her team at New Voodoo. And they did the production of everything, and we provided the content. It was a great little enterprise for a few years, and then it just became like nobody had the money for it anymore. It was like as companies weren't paying for things like that anymore, and we weren't even charging a lot of money. It was a couple $100. We wanted it to be very accessible, but people didn't have the time nor the money to go and put that money out there. It was during one of the big squeezes at radio, and right after COVID, man, things were really tight for a while.
Legitimate business concerns aside, for the way companies were trying to recover post-pandemic,
right?
Do you think, and not just the radio industry, but most of the entertainment industry, do you think that was just also an excuse for a lot of these companies to go, hey, we can say it's under the guise of this, but we could cut all of this stuff here and save all this money, and the pandemic thing, the world changed, and they just used to be kind of greedy.
I listen. I can't speak for what other companies did and how they did it.
Sure, you have to. You're the one here right now. Do it.
Well, but I mean, the truth is, I'm sure some people, hid under that cover. And they went, okay, I can chop here, and here. We're not going to do this, and this anymore. I can't afford to forget people to get sick, and the culture, office culture has changed quite a bit. Now there's a lot of broadcast companies that are making everybody come in 5 days a week. That's some ridiculous. Give people a Friday off or a Monday off or something like that.
Right.
Well,
there's also shows out there that record their morning shows in the afternoon.
Yeah,
and then it goes out the next day.
Exactly. So, when the pandemic happened, we stuck with our office for a few more months, and we were able to, I had really terrific landlords, and we had a discussion, and they let me out of my lease. Only had one more year to go, and we had office space in Nashville, and I was able to get us out of that in a timely manner. And we already had a whole lot of people on the All Access staff that were working, long distance in other states. We had people in Florida, we had people in New Jersey, New York, Michigan, and it was, I never, ever, ever felt that they were like slacking because they weren't in the office. These were people I really was blessed to have working operations with because they were passionate about what we were doing. And I never had to go like, where are you? I can't find you, they did their work. They really did. And so I was very blessed with that.
That's something I'm actually really passionate about because when I'm not doing this on Thursdays, I work from home full time. I manage a team. I'm the manager of, my own group of people. And I've always said that if I ever had to go back into an office, I would get less work done.
Oh, yeah.
I get more work done, and I'm up and down. I'm grabbing stuff out of the fridge. I'm doing stuff. I may take more little micro breaks here and there, but my production is much, much higher because you know what I'm not doing? Talking to the neighbor, talking to this person.
Working at home, yeah.
And the technology's there. Why force these extra costs to have an office building?
Because they have all this square footage that they just can't unwind. So they've got to justify having the square footage. I think that's probably some of it.
That's where your servers go for Phoebe.
For a Phoebe. No.
It's a Phoebe room.
Joel,
large fans.
Is there anything else that you'd like to get out there or like to say? Because you've been very generous with your time, and I thank you for
absolutely. Listen,
coming on.
Guys, this has been an absolute pleasure to just chat with two guys like you and have a real conversation about this. This has been absolutely eloquent. I thank you both very, very much, and on behalf of the entire company, we thank you for this. It's just nice to have some intelligent questions and, giving me the space to, answer them. So I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
Well, I don't know where you were getting intelligent questions.
Because he's reading off a script.
Yeah, something. He's on
the last job. He did a really good job. So.
Joel, thank you very much. I'm sure I'll run into you again. I think I ran into you a couple times at like morning show boot camp or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Year. So I'm sure I'll see you again. I don't know if I'm doing Cleveland next year or not, but
come on,
sure our paths will cross once again.
Come on, to Cleveland. Come on.
I mean, it's Cleveland. I mean, it's close. It's the closest that they've gotten to the East Coast, so I'm happy for that. But
come on, Eric. It's the San Diego of the Midwest. Let's do it.
San Diego.
Eric, where are you based at?
New York City.
New York City.
Yeah. I worked Scott and Todd for a little bit, Opie and Anthony for forever, and now this show with iHeart and stuff. So
that's great. That's great. Thank you guys again. It's really been a pleasure. I look forward to getting the link to it. If you could send me the link so I can check it out and send it to the company, that'd be great.
Definitely. And I look forward to you feeding that into your computer and creating AI versions of us so that we don't have to do this show anymore. It'll be fantastic.
Be so much funnier.
I know. Awesome. I'll look so much better. It'll be great.
So it'll be wonderful. It'll be wonderful.
Slim it down a little bit.
Joel, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Oh, didn't mean to cut him off there, but that was
Joel.
Formerly of All Access. SonicTrek.ai is the company. If you want to go out there and check out the demos and everything for yourself, or you can go to the YouTube channel. We have the video from, I think it was 3 weeks ago. When did I lose my voice?
It had to have been at least 2 weeks ago when you lost your voice. So it's at least been 3, maybe 4 weeks at this point.
Is when we did the went over the demos and stuff. So
I think it was
very informative.
Yeah.
The AI stuff there.
I never want to feel like I'm attacking. I am a big proponent of technology. I love learning new stuff. I like using tools for what they can be used for. Sometimes I just feel very passionate about, yes, this tool is here to help do one thing, but then someone's got to go away. And I've been on the receiving end of layoffs for certain reasons and, efficiencies, as it were, and things like that. Because
you play with Legos on company time. That's why you've been laid off so many times. That's why you don't want to go into the office. Look at all that behind you. It's just one big room of
doesn't come cheap
for your poor work performance.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I always fail upward, so that's why I'm in charge of a team.
Now you make them do everything there so that you can
sure
and play.
I delegate and then I build the newest stuff.
all that stuff there.
But yeah, no, that was a good. It was a lot of good information. I'm still skeptical about AI taking over certain aspects of things.
Once again, thank you to our guest, Joel Denver. Look, we do things differently on this show. Sometimes we're talking about current stuff, fun stuff, silly videos, things like that. And then once in a while, things comes into our view that we need to focus some time on. And look, I got to give it to Joel. I know he's not the most popular person in the radio industry right now. Depending on who you talk to, some think it's this is innovating and groundbreaking, and to an extent it is. And then there's other people who feel betrayed that because this was the guy who had the hub helping everybody out in radio and now is doing the thing that essentially could be replacing jobs and what have you. But I got to give it to him. He reached out to me, said, hey, I'd like to come on and talk about this stuff. And I'm glad, dude, because there's plenty of times we've broken down other people's works and things like that, and we've opened it up and said we'd like to have them on. They either don't acknowledge or they don't come on. So I will give Joel that. I think it went really well.
Yeah.
He answered everything, and
he didn't shy away from anything, which was really good. And
I can see his perspective a little bit better. I don't know what it will do going forward, but I can see what he's trying to do. I still question the fact that it's like, well, yeah, we want to save this industry that we all love, but at what cost? Like, so we're propping up the industry.
But what are we saving at this point?
Yeah, but then what are we exactly? It's that. So,
well, and to lean so heavily on we're saving the music portion of things, where honestly, like when he made the point of the, kids are riding in your car, they're going to listen to what you're listening. No, they're not. Like I said, my kid throws her headphones on immediately. She listens to her stuff, and yes, to a point. But I think at some point, the age where they're getting this information that people are still listening to music radio, they're going to age out eventually, and they're going to be gone. And what's coming up behind them are all the little digital weirdos, the 3-second attention spans, the headphone wearing, Apple Music, Spotify types, and that's what you need to try to work on. Don't appease the group of people that you now have numbers on. You need to think about what's coming behind them. And AI, honestly, I don't know if that's because honestly, like, we talked about it. We went over some of these jocks, and you're right. Dad jokes, really weird non sequiturs. Like it's very off-putting. And if I were to do that in the car with my kid, she rolls her eyes at me and calls me an idiot. She's grounded. Phoebe's not going to appeal to her.
She's shoved out of the car on a sharp turn. She goes out the door.
I told her the other day when I was dropping her off at her mom's house, I was like, I don't feel like stopping, so I'm going to roll real slow. I need you to open that door and talk.
What was that? She didn't know was a PlayStation commercial, right? Remember the one where there was a car where the car never stopped? It was just pushing people out of the car.
Yeah, it was just like, get out. But yeah, I told her to tuck and roll, and she didn't know what that meant. I was like, oh no, you open your door. You put your arms real tight into your chest and you just drop out and roll. And I just keep going. And she goes, really? I was like, yeah, I'm going to need you to do that. And then I think halfway there, she's like, I'm not going to do that. I was like, all right, well, I am. And then like while we were driving, there's no traffic around. We're on like a little back road. I opened the car door on the driver's side and it looked like I was about to tuck out. And she goes, wait a minute, you can't do that. You're driving. I'm like, yeah, well, shouldn't be napping either, but I do it.
Well, yeah, Slugworth in the chat saying there, you guys challenged him. I think it was fair. Yeah, I think we did a fairly good job. I've had some people writing me. It's like, why aren't you pressing into him more? And I was just like, I'm not going to attack the guy because I actually want to have a conversation, get some real answers on them. It's like, I'm not going to. That old O&A mindset of certain people, or Howard's thing where it's like, gotta go into. This isn't one of those cases. Yeah, do I fully agree with it? I don't really. I do see some things a little better after talking to him. I don't fully understand and kind of agree with some of this stuff, but grace of God, go I with all of that stuff. Yeah, I was there to talk to him, to have a good time, to try to get information and everything. I think we did a good job, and he was very gracious with his time and to answer our questions. So respect to him for that.
It's Eric Nagel. Follow the show on all social medias at It's Eric Nagel for ways to watch or listen to the show, both live and on demand. Go to itsericnagel.com.